Welcome back to Pop Culture Powerhouses. This week we have got the Butler versus the Aunt. Who did it? We have got Alfred Pennyworth versus Aunt May. We're going to be discussing these pop culture icons and just how powerful they are. So, as always, we've got 6 categories to discuss. Iconic-ness, individuality, quality of adaptations, legacy, relatability, and personal preference.
I mean, personally, I think it was the butler in the billiard room with the candlestick.
These characters, right, are so important because I would argue they are like the pinnacle of secondary characters who aren't superheroes.
Yes, I would agree.
So, like, yeah, you've got Batman's Robin, but he's just his sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider-Man's worked with other heroes a lot, but you've got like MJ and Aunt May who are like the people he cares about and he's trying to protect.
Yeah.
And they are like 2 of the biggest heroes, and that's their people that they really care about. Even when you look at like Lois with Superman, because she's a reporter, she like accepts a bit more danger inherently, being an investigative journalist.
Yeah.
But with Aunt May and Alfred, they're just trying to live their life.
That's true. And like, obviously Jarvis in the MCU was just an AI, but in the comics he was originally a butler, wasn't he?
Yes.
The same idea there. That's the only other person I can think of. But yeah, you're right. These are like the 2 big name side characters that are just there's people to care for them. Alfred maybe a little bit more hands-on.
Yeah, Alfred's willing to get a bit more down and dirty when he needs to protect his boys. But that's become more of a feature, I feel, as the Bat fam has grown. I feel like that wasn't necessarily like the initial version of Alfred, but that was more like, oh, there's 12 Bat kids running around now, and Alfred was like, if anyone hurts my family, I'll murder them.
Yeah, Batman's been busy. Iconic-ness. I mean, both for their respective comics are very iconic characters. And with, like, you can't really do anything Spider-Man related without an Aunt May there. And you can't do Batman without having Alfred. So they are as iconic as their actual main superhero counterparts. I don't know which is more iconic. I guess that could then potentially lean towards which superhero is more iconic, because then they're linked with them. I want to argue that maybe for Spider-Man, Uncle Ben might be seen as more iconic than Aunt May.
So I think there's definitely an element of, you're absolutely right, they are so intertwined with their character, but Alfred is more available because he knows about the secret. So he's fighting both sides. True. He's Bruce Wayne's butler, and he's Batman's guy in the chair type vibe. Whereas with Aunt May, she doesn't know that Peter is Spider-Man. So she's only like, if you think about how people engage with these characters, at most half May is available half the time. And then she's not going to be there all the time when it's Peter. Whereas with Alfred, he can be there in theory 100% of the time. Whether it's Batman or Bruce, he can be there. It's not a problem. So I feel like that makes Alfred a bit more iconic because he, to an extent, blurs the lines between family member and sidekick.
Yeah. Yeah, and now I think about it a bit, I'm like, you can have Spider-Man comics and Aunt May wouldn't be in it for that story. You kind of struggle to not have Alfred at some point in a Batman story.
Exactly.
Which means he'll have shown up more. It's Batman and Alfred, even without any of the Robins. Look at the films where we've not had, like, there's still an Alfred. Like, he is that iconic second part to Batman. And I think more people would maybe think of Alfred faster than they would think Aunt May.
I agree. However, with individuality, I think it flips the other way. Yeah, I feel like the butler of the rich superhero isn't that unique. I feel like the butler of the rich... Yeah, but like the butler of like the rich character
Yeah. And also it's like he's the butler of the rich character. He's the hero's guy in the chair. Many heroes have a guy in the chair. That all somewhat do a similar role, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's only one Aunt May. Like, and she is the chances of another hero's family member being an identical copy of Aunt May is next to nothing. Like,
Yeah,
those characters are always going to be very unique and very individual because the nature of they are unique and they're the only one that has this relationship with the superhero.
exactly. I do think to an extent there needs to be a little bit of credit given to Alfred because, yeah, he doesn't feel that unique anymore, but he's been around since before a lot of them other characters.
True, true, true.
But Aunt May's not exactly a brand new character. She's been around
No.
since the 60s, and I can't think of anyone on like the same level as her in that pivotal role towards the character and how they act, how they feel, and their motivation.
I would agree there. I do think it goes more so towards Aunt May in this sense. Because, like you say, although Alfred, yes, he's been around longer, and that we're not going to forget that. He also, in terms of Rich Guy's Butler, he is very, like, special compared to some of the others we see in stories.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's just that little bit more uniqueness to Aunt May.
exactly. And no one's ever been able to quite capture the essence of Aunt May and distill it into another character. People have made semi-decent attempts at recreating an Alfred archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Quality of adaptations. We have two characters who, for not being a title character, have maybe never been adapted more.
This is true. I was just trying to think. We've had so many different versions of Aunt May and so many different versions of Alfred through actors and actresses.
You've got to think of all the Batman reboots. You've got to think about all the animated shows.
The
You've got to think
games.
about the games. You've got to think about Gotham, the TV show. You've got to think about
Yes.
the Pennyworth TV show.
Yeah.
And then with Aunt May, once again, you're thinking games, you're thinking animated shows, you're thinking the 3 different film franchises.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I have one thing that may tip this one way.
Okay.
And his name is Morgan Freeman.
He was never Alfred. He played Lucius Fox.
He did. Sorry, my bad.
That was Michael Caine in the
Yes, it
Nolan
was.
films.
Also, okay then, Michael Caine. But like, some iconic actors have played Alfred.
Yes, I completely agree. I would argue, although we're talking about quality, the consistency of the way the character acts fluctuates a lot through Batman projects.
Yeah. They each have their
Whereas
own
Aunt May feels very consistent.
True. Though, yeah, Aunt May's maybe changed in age through fluctuation of how old they portray her.
Yeah.
But has always kind of had the same personality and qualities in that sense. Whereas Alfred, yeah, I would agree. We've seen many different versions of how Alfred helps, what his capabilities are.
We've seen everything from Alfred secretly a ninja assassin marine who could be a better Batman if he wanted to be, to he is just a butler who doesn't even know how to begin to understand the fact that his boss is a vigilante and just kind of goes along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, this is the thing, it's like, that all of those have worked.
Yes, I'm not saying they haven't, but you'll have a favourite.
Yeah.
And as a result, none of them are as good as that, meaning the quality could be perceived as not being consistent.
True.
Like, I wasn't a big fan in Gotham of them making Alfred Cockney.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think Alfred's particularly bad in that, but because they decided for that show Bruce Wayne was going to be a child throughout the entire show, but they still wanted him to be doing Batman light stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They needed an adult who could be a physical presence, so they went, okay, we'll make Alfred more.
Military.
Yeah, he was a soldier. He carries a gun. He's got a Cockney accent because, as every American knows, Cockney accents are very tough. And it's like that kind of idea.
It was that idea of like, butlers always need to be British because so proper, but we need him to be tough. So what's a tough British accent? Cockney.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
It's like I don't believe that consistency equals quality. I'm not saying that, but I think when we've had two characters that have been pretty well portrayed across a lot of their adaptations, who matches what I feel the character should be more is Aunt May, because Alfred has a lot of different takes, and that's brilliant from an artistic point of view. But if you have a strong opinion about how Alfred as a character should be portrayed, there's going to be a fair few performances you don't like.
Yeah, and some of those will stray further away from the original medium of the comic than others, which then is like comes down to, is that the same quality? Because it's how far can you stray from that character before it's technically you're becoming someone else.
Exactly. So I think quality of adaptations is either May or a draw. I don't think I can give it to Alfred.
Yeah. Legacy. I mean, there's, as we sort of touched on, there has been other rich person butler sideman that has come after Alfred.
Yeah.
So you can kind of say his legacy has been that character trope.
Ironically, the fact that he lost individuality is because his legacy is so great, he doesn't feel as unique anymore.
Yeah.
I think is a fair way to put it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way of putting it.
Aunt May has an incredible legacy. We're discussing two of the best side characters in the medium of comic book history. Aunt May's legacy is phenomenal. It's absolutely up there. I think if you look at some of the newer characters and how ingrained they are with their family life, especially on the Marvel side, I think a lot of that comes from them hoping they'll strike gold and find their next Aunt May.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we had that era of people trying to find their Alfred and realizing he's very difficult to write, a character that compelling. And as a result, I think Alfred's legacy is incredible. And also, as we discussed, because he's involved in the Batman side as well, he gets to almost speak to the viewer a little bit more in a way of like talking through the morality of what's going on. In like obviously the famous one is like in The Dark Knight, where he goes, some men just want to watch the world burn. Alfred a lot of the time is used to kind of be this narrative device for Batman, which I don't think many characters, although they've tried to, have ever been able to match. I feel like everything good about Alfred, people have tried to pull off again, and they really struggle to.
Yeah.
No, and that's why we get so much, like, flooded with this like butler archetype.
Yeah.
Relatability.
Yeah.
Are you an old English dude who makes tea? Or did you take in your brother's child after he died?
I'm surprised you haven't made a joke here, I'll be honest.
What about you being old?
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't immediately go, well, you're obviously relate to Alfred because of your age or something. Unfortunately, I don't like tea, so I can't relate with it. I don't know who I relate to more.
The version of Alfred that acts as like a straight man, where it's like, oh, would you like to get some rest, sir? It's like, no, I must go and fight more crimes. Like, oh, very good, sir. I find that incredibly relatable, purely because that is what I'd like my life to be. I would like to be the butler who gets paid an obscene amount of money, and I like try and talk my rich boss out of doing dumb shit that might get him killed. And he doesn't care if I'm sarcastic when he doesn't take my advice. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I
that's.
could do a very good job of that.
I think our British bias is leaning somewhat Alfred because we are like, oh yeah, we could hit him with some of that sarcastic humor of the next morning of like, oh, rough night at work, sir, as he's like, he's stitching himself up or something.
I'm not saying I could be as good as the animated series Alfred with some of his like one-liners, but I think I could like do better than some Alfreds in like the wittiness. And like that's kind of like a nice little life to lead, I feel.
I think the more I'm thinking about it as well, it's like I look at it like without May, and it's like I can see myself taking in a nephew and doing that. It's like obviously there are some occasions when she finds out Peter's Spider-Man, but most of the time she doesn't. I don't know. I feel like I would rather be in Alfred's shoes of knowing and at least being able to somewhat help at times with things.
You'd rather be able to help and stitch him up than just not know it's happening whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's fair. Personal preference.
I mean, we've always thought I'm very much a Batman fan. So I'm also very much an Alfred fan. Like I love their dynamic.
For me, this is an absolute tie because I adore both these characters. And in a weird way, I'd rather neither of them existed than have to live in a world with only one of them.
I think I could live without Aunt May if I had to. Whereas I think because Alfred is so strongly tied with Batman at times, whereas Aunt May you can get away with Spider-Man without her there. Like I think I lean towards Alfred.
I get that. Let's tally it up.
Yes.
So, Iconic-ness, we went for Alfred.
Yep.
Individuality, we went Aunt May.
We did.
Did we land on quality of adaptations as Aunt May?
I think so, yeah. I think she just edges it out.
Okay. Legacy is Alfred.
Yep.
Making it 2-2. Relatability is also Alfred.
Yeah, we both said Alfred.
Making it 3-2. Personal preference I had as a draw.
I had as Alfred.
Okay, so 4-2 Alfred. Alfred does edge out Aunt May in who is the more iconic pop culture powerhouse. I guess that kind of makes sense. Batman's also had a lot more projects on the big screen with a lot of Alfred time because Robin is hated by Hollywood. So it makes more sense that he'd be more of a pop culture icon, I feel.
Yeah, and I do think because he's, like we said, he's so strongly tied into the Batman story that it, like you say, he's given him more screen time, more time in the comics, and it kind of makes sense that he'd have a bit more of an impact there.
I agree. But that is it for us this time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you when we see you.
See you in the next one.